Hey everyone, this is Founders 365 with me, Steven Haggerty. And today I have Brianne Soscia on the podcast, but she's just dotted out of it video, but that's all good. She's back. She's back. Brianne, how are you today?
Good, thank you. Sorry, work from home problems. I have a 5-year-old, so I was telling her not to come in.
It's all good. I was actually, I don't know why, but in my head, I was half expecting you to come back into shot with a puppy.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first thing that
I have one of those too.
Yeah. So a puppy and a 5-year-old, you're doing well.
Yes.
But Brianne, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're on here. So you're the founder of Financial Yogi,
Yes.
which maybe could have a little bit of a mixed message, I guess. It's like, are you a yoga instructor? Are you a financial person? But I'm going to let you do an overview of what Financial Yogi is and sort of what you represent as a brand.
Sure. So yes, my brand is Financial Yogi, and I am not a yoga instructor. So the reason that my brand is Financial Yogi is because I am an avid yoga practitioner. So I practice yoga about 1.5 hours a day, 6 times a week. So I have a very disciplined practice. But I have found that many of the lessons that we learn from yoga and being healthy and balanced apply in the financial world as well. And a lot of lessons that I learn on the mat are then transferred over to how I interact with my clients and really the philosophy that I believe in behind investing and becoming financially secure and financially free.
Amazing. That's such a good mantra to live by, right?
Yeah.
It's so financial wellness, let's put it that way, is super interesting to me because in the world, there seems to be a real divide of people that sort of just understand money and make money work for them. And then there's people that always struggle with it, right? There's people that just cannot seem to get money to work for them. However, the same opportunities are there for everyone. So in your opinion, why is it that some people are just better with the financial management side of things and would, hire someone like yourself versus someone that isn't, but even if they do have the funds to do so?
Yeah. Well, I think that question has many answers, but I do believe a lot of it does start from, childhood and the life that we're born into. So obviously, I do believe that, we're not all coming into this world with the same opportunities. I was fortunate enough, and this is part of my story and I'll tell it, but I was fortunate enough to have a father who was a financial advisor. So I was told, you will go to college, you will invest. Now, not everybody has that. I think some people are just really self-starters and they're really self-motivated. They have that drive in them to become financially successful, so I think it's a little bit of both nature and nurture.
Definitely. So let's talk about that then. Let's talk about the fact that, your father was a financial advisor and you grew up around the language, the lingo, all of that stuff. Do you think even if you didn't go into becoming a financial advisor yourself, you would still have that foundation of good money management?
Yeah, and going back to your previous question, I do think that a lot of it has to do with how much education we're given, so we all know there's not a lot of financial education in the schools. There is more so today. When we were growing up, not so much, but, I had that education at home. So, again, I was never going to become a financial advisor. I never wanted to become a financial advisor, actually. I believed that it was, the devil, and everybody had this bad image of you as a financial advisor that you were gonna take advantage of people. But from a very young age, my dad was like, okay, here's your first credit card and you're gonna start using it because you need to build your credit, but you're gonna pay off the balance every single month. And you know that to this day I still have the same credit card. Amazing. Since I was like 17 years old, and I'm 42 now. And that's the only credit card I have besides my business credit card. And I still pay the balance off every single month.
You must be one of their preferred customers, I would say.
Yeah, my credit limit is pretty high.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So you mentioned that you never wanted to go into financial services. What made you? What was that switch that you just thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to give this a go?
Yeah, so my dad used to always joke that I was switched at birth because I have three brothers and a sister, and they were all entrepreneurial from the very beginning, opened their own businesses, self-employed, and I was I'm going to save the world kind of girl. So after I got out of college, I joined what's called Teach for America, and you have to commit to teaching 2 years in an under-resourced school. So you either get sent to the city or to the countryside here. And so I was a young, struggling single mom. I had just gotten divorced. I had a baby. She was 18 months old, and I was a single mom as an elementary school teacher. And I was starving to death. So I was trying to make my mortgage. I would have to tutor long, into the night after school, leave my daughter in daycare. And then my dad got sick with cancer. And he knew that it was terminal and that he was only going to live for a few more years. And he said, I'll never forget it. He said, you're spending too much time making a living and not enough time making a life.
Wow.
Quit teaching, and I'll pay your expenses for 1 year, and you can have my business. So my sister was actually already a financial advisor and had been in the business. And so it was very bittersweet. I got to sit with my dad for a year, and it was like one day to the year, exactly what he said: study, get all your licenses, and I'll hand you the business. And that's exactly how it happened. And then he passed away about a year later.
Oh, so sorry to hear about that, but what an amazing lesson to leave you with.
Yeah. And, I'm so fortunate. I'm so blessed to inherit a business. I know that. But, I have to say that being a teacher, there was safety and security in that, because even though the paycheck was small, you knew that it was coming every 2 weeks. And people thought like, oh, you took over your dad's business. Like, that's a gold mine. Well, the financial industry is not the same as it was when he was a financial advisor. He was called more of like a stockbroker, and every time he bought a stock for someone or placed a trade, he made money. But that's not how it is. And so when I took over his business, I was actually making less in the beginning than what I was making as a teacher. Wow. So it wasn't, yes, the opportunity was there, don't get me wrong, but I still had to build his business and shape it to what it's become today.
How did you deal with the mindset shift then, from having that stability of, being a teacher, like you said, having that paycheck, versus not the fully unknown, but it is still that unknown, the fact that you have to go out there and now build the business up again and, bring in and get to know the clients, even if you inherited them, they don't know you.
Yeah. I always say that's the biggest leap of faith I ever took, was, saying yes, because there was a moment when I was like, no, thanks. Like, I don't want to become a financial advisor. No, thank you. I'll just stay a teacher the rest of my life. But yeah, that was one of the hardest parts, knowing that I was the one responsible to bring in that paycheck. I'm the type of person who doesn't want to fail. So I just tried everything and anything until, it worked. But I remember people said, you can always keep your teaching license. You can always come back. And in the back of my mind, I was like, no way, because that's failure. And so I actually let my teaching licenses expire so that I didn't have that opportunity.
There was no way back.
No.
Amazing. So when did you start building the brand around the financial yogi side of things? Because that's such a unique brand and one that is so on point in terms of marketing right now.
Yeah, so that was a few years ago. I was part of this women's networking group, and we would start every meeting with talking about like a personal success and then a business success. And the ladies were like, you're always talking about yoga. Like, you have to find some way to blend that. And you're the financial yogi. And then it just kind of took on a life of its own. And also, I'm young when it comes to being a financial advisor. I'm a woman. And so I knew that I needed to set myself apart. And a lot of, obviously, advertising is done through social media these days. So, who wants to read like boring market updates on social media? And I just knew that those things weren't working from what I could see from other financial advisors. So I knew that I had something that was different and captivating, but also really resonated with my values.
Yeah, 100%. And in terms of you mentioned the fact that in terms of financial industry, seems to be sort of an old school mentality and a new school mentality. How do you make sure that every day that you're still motivated? Because I'm sure that sometimes you must see things and just think, why are people writing that, or why are people doing that, and really questioning the industry that you're in. So how do you keep yourself motivated to inspire and create that sort of content that is going to hit your target audience on the head?
Well, that's a good question. Well, I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts, I read a lot of books, I try to stay educated, and I just try to keep in mind that not every single person is going to be my ideal client. Okay. So I don't want to attract everyone, and people who, want to do it themselves, or people who aren't coachable, those aren't my ideal client. So my ideal client is not necessarily the richest person around. It's the person who is most motivated to, have that financial freedom and live the life of their dreams and want the support. So, and I just know that not everybody's like that. So I only want to attract the people who want the help and who want to do the right things.
Love that. And I'm going to ask a really broad question, but I'm really interested because obviously you're in the States, you're in Vegas. I'm here in sunny old England, and I'm really interested to know what you think the state of the financial industry is like in the States at the moment, with all that's going on, and perhaps even how you may predict that it's going to change.
Yeah, so I'd say that there's just an overall sense of uncertainty right now. So we are fortunate. We have, a lot of programs that have been put into place. I'm not sure how much you know, but, people are receiving individual stimulus checks, and there's a lot of programs for small business owners that my clients and even myself have taken advantage of. In terms of the actual stock market, my clients were panicked at first. So I was joking, I wish I could have just had my voice on a recording, because I was saying the same thing over and over again. Because should I go to cash? No. Why not? Shouldn't I go to cash? No. Here's why you don't go to cash, and I was just on social media every day trying to provide that education. And I think people are pretty scared. It's calmed down a little bit right now, but I think everybody's kind of just in a wait and see, how bad is this going to get? Because a lot of things have been done to stop the bleeding. But the one thing that is still uncertain is that, the number of cases of coronavirus is not, steadily decreasing yet. And until that happens, we're not going to know.
Yeah. The wait and see is always an interesting one for me. For what do you think needs to happen for people to sort of remove some of that fear and feel comfortable in investing again, feel comfortable with, looking at investments on an all-round basis?
Yeah, I think that they're going to need to know that, have some sort of idea when the economy is going to come back to life. And obviously, the longer this lasts, the worse the effects are going to be. So I don't think people are going to start feeling confident again until, it's under control.
Yeah, definitely. So tell me one thing that I'm really interested to know. Do you enjoy running your own business and being a financial specialist, financial advisor?
Oh, yes. I love it.
If you weren't doing this, what do you think you would be doing?
I have the best life ever. People are like, don't you miss being a teacher? No. I always joke, my bachelor's degree was in psychology and sociology. I have a master's in elementary ed, and you don't even need a college degree to become a financial advisor. And I make 5 times as much money as I ever did.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I love being an entrepreneur. All the roller coaster rides are worth every second of the freedom that I have. I have a very blessed life. I drop my girls off at school. I work from 9 to 3, and then I get to become a mom again in the evening. And I keep it pretty small. I don't want to grow where I'm managing other advisors. I have one full-time assistant, and I just feel like the sky's the limit. And as long as you always always, I think the most important thing to always have in the forefront of your mind is that you're here to serve others. And if you're here to serve others, and you do the most you can in terms of learning and educating yourself and serving your clients, you have every opportunity in the world.
Definitely. So. Let's talk about financial education then. You mentioned earlier that in schools and high schools, it's probably not the best in terms of what they should be doing. It's even here in the UK. I don't remember studying what stocks and shares were. I found out about that in my own time. But why do you think it's not becoming that core factor in terms of, okay, this is what kids need to learn, let's build their financial future?
Yeah, I don't know. There's definitely a disconnect there. It's pretty sad. But I will say my daughter's in junior high, and I went on a field trip with her. They did a financial education field trip where it was like a simulation where, they were investing and they had to learn about life insurance. And so I think it's coming, and I have hopes. We do have some programs in the schools here. Like even back when I was a teacher 10 years ago, I had someone come in my second grade classroom and teach about, supply and demand. I don't know what it is. Why don't they want us to be smart and, financially successful?
Exactly right. But there's just so much information out there now, with YouTube, podcasts, books, everything. Do you think there's also a risk that people could be overwhelmed with that amount of information and get stuck with it?
Yeah, I definitely think there's pros and cons. It's empowering that you can go out and you can learn things yourself, but a lot of the financial concepts that we know as a financial planner are very complicated. And, people are like, well, you're going to be replaced because of the robo-advisor and people can just invest themselves. But you know what? Computer software will never take the place of sound advice.
Yeah.
And software is not going to tell you whether or not you're allowed to contribute to this account or that account, or, so, I think, living in the world of information and technology is a beautiful thing, but it can also have its adverse consequences as well.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned that you have a 5-year-old. How are you educating her with her financial future? I mean, that field trip sounds amazing.
I don't know if I am yet.
I can imagine you in that field trip though. Everyone was looking at you going, what should I do? Should I be
the teacher's like, hey, I heard you might be interested in this field trip. I don't pay my 5-year-old an allowance or any of that stuff yet, but my 13-year-old, she definitely knows. She asks us questions all the time, so I hope that I'm doing the right thing. And more importantly than just, do you know what a stock and a bond is? I want to show my girls that, you can grow up and you can have your own business and you can be a boss and you can live the life of your dreams if you want to. And I think that I am portraying that. I'll tell one quick story. So last October, I actually left my family and I went to India for an entire month.
Wow.
And, I had mixed feelings about it, but, leaving my children was pretty hard. But I had everything ready. Like I had my girls' school uniforms laid out for 30 days and her Halloween costume. I told them I'd bring them back a puppy, and I did. I brought a puppy home from India. You probably heard him barking. But, even though I had that mommy guilt, I thought, you know what? One day my girls are going to look back on this 30 days and they're going to remember that their mom was following her dreams.
Definitely. So, how important is it for you to do things like that for yourself and keep that mindset and growth?
Oh, so important, because, sometimes I feel like I'm being selfish, but, being a business owner and a mom, it's hard. And you have to, it's like putting your mask on first in the airplane. You have to take care of yourself if you want to be able to take care of your clients and your kids. And that's why I wake up before the sun rises every morning and I practice yoga for an hour and a half, because that's the only time I ever get alone, So, I think you do have to, this sounds selfish, but I think you have to put yourself and your health and wellness first before you can take care of others.
Yeah, definitely. I think the I've always loved that, the saying of to put your oxygen mask on first before you can help anyone else. It's just so underused still. People, the selflessness and the selfishness that you mentioned is always going to crop up. But I truly believe to be selfless, you have to be selfish.
Yes.
You have to look after yourself. You have to be there for your kids. You have to be there for your family, for your clients, all that kind of stuff. But it's so great that you have this awareness of what you need,
Yeah.
because I think without that, it's when people have that really dangerous side of going into burnout and ended up. I know so many people that, well, not so many people, that's a bit of exaggeration, but I know a lot of people that started their own businesses and they don't have that space for themselves. So they end up, almost resenting their business. And of course, because they resent their business, what does that do? That impacts their clients, impacts their growth. And then they wonder why they're not making money, all those other options out there. So it's really lovely to hear that you took that time out for yourself, and I hope that becomes a ritual as well. Something that you do every year.
I
Take
hope so
time
too.
out. That'd be amazing. But just don't come back with a puppy every year.
I know. I'll have 10
Yeah,
dogs.
yeah, exactly. Every time you get on a plane, your daughters will be like, "Is she going to bring us back a puppy?" Yeah, I
Yeah.
think she is. I would love to just jump into the future a little bit and just find out what your intentions are with the Financial Yogi brand, and if you've got any big things coming up in store. Well, as much as you can plan in the future right now.
Yeah. So I don't know, even though we're in quarantine, I don't know why I do this to myself, but I just wrote an ebook. I just hosted a webinar because I don't have enough to do, right? No, but it just, I want to continue the business growth. So obviously my objective is to acquire more clients. I'd like to, for myself personally, I want to retire early because I want to walk the talk.
Yeah.
I'd love to, retire when I'm 55 and, be able to do whatever I want for the rest of my life, even though I do pretty much do everything I want to do right now. Collaborations with people, podcasting like this, learning everything I can about social media. I mean, at the end of the day, I think the main business objective is obviously to gather more clients so that your business can grow. So I try to, hit that however I can.
One of my final questions. I've got two more questions for you. The first being is, what made you really focus on social media, where so many other advisors and financial people almost hide behind this website or hide behind this facade of whatever they've created? But you're really open, you're really out there, you're really personable. What made you do that?
Well, I do. I listen to a lot of podcasts and read a lot of books. And there's, I always go back to that saying of like 1-to-1, you're going to hit so many less people than 1-to-many. So while, yes, I'm always trying to be out there in the community, having coffee with people and centers of influence and all that, you can just reach such a wider audience on social media and touch more people.
Exactly. And that's the intention, right? You definitely have this vibe of not only wanting more clients, obviously, like every business does, but that really sincere of you want to help people, you want to really educate people, which is so nice to hear. I watched some of your YouTube videos the other day, and I was like, yeah, she is someone that really loves to help people, which is exactly why I wanted you on the show as well, because
thank you.
that's what it's about, right? I think there's a big, especially in times like this, there's a big compassion side of things going around. People are being much more open to wanting to help others. But if it's already in your values, you're going to go far. So it's definitely in your values, which is lovely to see. So my final question, Brianne, is, if you could give, and I ask this to everyone, but if you could give 3 bits of advice to someone that is perhaps, I love the breathing in there, going, right, 3 bits of advice. I never prep people for this question either. Maybe I should start being nicer and just going, by the way,
you should.
think of 3 bits of advice. But you've got this, I know you do. But 3 bits of advice for, someone that perhaps can be improving their financial well-being, just really simple steps that they can take that it can help them in the future.
Okay. So the first one that comes to mind is meet with every single person you can in your own field. So get rid of the idea of competition. So collaboration over competition. If you are open and you start an ask with, I want to learn from you, I think that's one of the best things you can do. I met with as many financial advisors as I could in the beginning and just asked them about their systems, their processes, and I just took notes, and I wanted to learn the best pieces of advice from people who have actually done what I'm doing. So find people in your field. This is almost the same, but find mentors in your field. So find people who you really look up to, who do things well that you want to do well with, that you don't think you're good at. So find those geniuses with social media. If you don't like technology, find someone who's good at it. If you're in the finance industry, pick the brains of all of the people at the finance companies. So find your mentors in your industry who will teach you what you need to know. And then this is going to sound cliche, but never give up, because I've been in the business 10 years now, and I still am on a roller coaster ride of emotions being an entrepreneur. I was like all excited, like I was telling somebody, I'm not having any anxiety dreams, because they were saying everybody in quarantine is experiencing these anxiety dreams. And I was like, oh, I'm fine. And then I woke up the next morning and I realized I was dreaming about like split screen video and like how to post a split screen video. And I was like, oh, so you're always going to have that roller coaster ride of emotions as an entrepreneur. You're going to have those great days, and then you're going to have really not so good days, and learning to kind of steady your emotions and just keep going.
Exactly. Brianne, thank you so much for that. I told you had that in the bag. That was perfect. Yeah. It's my final question is, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, perhaps speak to you more about Financial Yogi, speak to you more about their financial well-being, what's the best way for them to do that?
Sure. So my website is financial-yogi.com. And on Facebook, you'll find me at Brianne Soscia, Financial Yogi, and LinkedIn, Brianne Soscia. There's how you spell my name.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. Brianne, thank you so much for coming on the show. You've delivered loads of value, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how you develop and take the Financial Yogi brand.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. Thanks everyone for listening and watching the Spin Founders 365 with me, Steven Haggerty.
Have a great day.